So, you want to build a clunker, do you? Well, first thing you're going to do is get you a beach cruiser, pre-war bike, something like that. And then you're going to get rid of these tires that came with it. We need something knobby. We need something that's going to grip the dirt. In order to get the tires separated from the rim, you need to break the bead with some tire spoons. And it's going to be extremely difficult for me to film and use these at the same time, so I'll be back. You got the first one in there, separating the bead. Then you're going to stick the second one down, about 3-4 inches away from that one. You have something that looks kind of like this. Now you're going to leave this lever here, and you're going to slide this one around the rim in a clockwise motion, and that's going to separate the entire bead. You're going to pull your valve stem out of the rim and pull the entire tube out of the tire. Now you should be able to, with minimal force, to pull the entire tire off the bead from the other side. Got your bare naked rim ready for the new tube and new tire. I don't know what size tire is going to fit on your bike, but I know that typically these 2.4 mountain bike tires fit in a 26-inch beach cruiser frame, no problem. Now we got the tire on halfway, so half of the bead is set on there. The other half is floating willy-nilly in the air. That'll give us room to put the tube in. I always like to start with the valve stem. I poke it through the hole, and then I work my way around the rim, putting the tube in to the tire. And you want to make sure that there's no twists or kinks. And it should fall relatively easily into place. And nice and straight all the way around. And then we're going to set the bead on this side. I think the bead, I like to start opposite the valve stem side. For whatever reason, it seems like I get a little bit more room. It's easier to put the tire in if I save this part for last. And then as you go, you want to check and make sure that the tube isn't getting pinched in between the tire and the rim there, where you're setting the bead. And there we go. We're going to pull the valve stem out. Tire's on. We just got to air it up and install it. How do I know if I put my tire on the right direction? Well, the front tire, it doesn't matter, because if you got a tread pattern that's directional, if you got it on the wrong way, you just flip the whole wheel around when you install it. Now the back one, that's the one you have to pay attention to, because you have the drive side and the brake side. And if it's a directional tread pattern, then pay attention. You want the arrows pointing in the direction that the tire is rolling when it's going forward. Removing the rear wheel, the first thing you got to do is disconnect the coaster brake arm from the frame. Typically, it'll be like a Phillips head on one side with a little like 10mm nut on the other. But it's always different. Got that out. You can leave this clamp here. That's not a big deal. You're going to need to reattach it when you put the new tires on anyways. But let's get started removing the nuts holding the wheel on. Barney, why do we got to do the tires first? Well, it's simple. I don't have a stand. I've got to work on this bike upside down, and literally every other part we're going to change on this bike can be changed with it right side up. Ready to put the wheel back on. The first thing we're going to do is attach the coaster brake arm to the brace. Now, before you tighten your wheel back in, you're going to check the chain stays and the seat stays for tire clearance. You can see this one is pushed far over to the right, so we're going to get it a little bit nice and centered in there like that before we tighten it down. We're going to tighten the drive side nut, but before we do that, in order to make sure that our wheel stays in the position we want it to, we're going to shove our handy hammer right in there, and that's going to hold everything together for us while we tighten that up. Now that part's done, you can turn the baby over. And look at that. It's already starting to look like a different bike. So the next thing we are going to do is remove the stock stem and handlebar. It's coming off. It's just this little Allen here. You got to loosen it up till it gets loose. Hit the end of the stem here with your rubber mallet, When that falls in, it's loose enough, you should be able to just wiggle it right out. All right, so after I loosen this bolt here, I gave it one whack with the mallet, and you can see the stem is now much further down, and the bolt is sticking out here. That means this guy should be loose enough to remove. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, let's say you get yourself a brand new fork, and you're not sure if your big old fat new tire is going to fit in there. We just slip it on right over the tire there. See what kind of clearance we got? Ah, we got some clearance. Definitely going to have to cut the steer tube down a little bit. Don't forget to take the bearing race off of your old fork. You're going to need this little guy. Put it on your new fork. Steer tube's cut down. Everything's nice and tight. That means it's time for new stem. Put the new stem in. Get your handlebars on there. Then we'll turn this thing back upside down and put that front tire back on. I'm usually one guy doing this by myself, so what I like to do is leave one screw in the clamp here. That way when I'm working with the bars, trying to get the bars together, I'm not trying to hold this piece, the handlebar, and put the bolt through. Got the bar on there, the clamp's still loose. What we're going to do is we're going to start tightening these bolts. We're going to start at the bottom, and we're just going to get it not all the way tight, just kind of somewhat tight. That way the handlebar, when I get it into position, will stay on its own, and I don't have to try to use both hands. Once you've got that somewhat tight, you're going to come look at it from the side, and you want your bar to be exactly parallel with your fork. For the most part, I don't know, everybody has their own preferences. I like mine. I like a nice straight line going up. So I got to tilt the bar forward just a little bit before I tighten it down anymore. To get that nice and tight on there, you're going to check your clamp. See the distance here in between the top piece and the bracket piece that goes into the stem there. You want to make sure that's an equal distance gap. You don't want to have the bottom super tight and the top separated, vice versa. And also check left to right. You want both sides to be about the same. Looking pretty good. Man, now it's really looking like a different bike. I really like these Schwinn grips that come on the beach cruisers. So I'm going to reuse them. And I want to show you a trick. Maybe you know it, maybe you haven't seen it before. But essentially, what I'm going to do is stuff a butter knife in the grip in between the grip itself and the handlebar. And I'm going to open a gap. You see the little gap there? I'm going to squeeze hand soap into that. And that is going to loosen the grip up so that I can roll it right off. That took me maybe 5 to 10 seconds total for both. Barney, why don't you just use an air compressor to get the grips off the old handlebars? Well, the answer is simple, really. I don't have one. This is secret trick number 2. A lot of people know about the hairspray trick. Problem is, hairspray doesn't last. Once your hands get a little bit of sweaty or there's a little bit of moisture in the air, both your grips will start throttling. With the crystal clear enamel here, it dries hard like a glue, and you know it's paint. Your grips are literally painted onto the bar. They won't come off until you stick a butter knife and some soap in there. Man, look at that. It's already starting to look like a different bike. Next, we're going to talk contact points. We definitely want to switch these pedals out. Look at that. There's hardly any grip there. Plus, they're fucking flimsy, cheap, crazy old pedals. You don't want to ride down the mountain on that. I mean, you can, but this is your braking system. Your pedals, your chain, all the way to that coaster in the back. Anything in that system fails, you got no brakes coming down the mountain. So we're going to get some beefier, grippier pedals. And the seat, technically, there's nothing really wrong with the seat. It's a little wide, a little silly. Definitely belongs on a beach cruiser, not a race bike. So we're going to switch that out too. Now, when you're taking your pedals off, you got to remember that your drive side is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and your non-drive side is opposite. Remember, we were talking about that in the greasing your crank video. That way, this doesn't come unthreaded. As you're rolling, as your motion is rolling this way, it would undo the pedal if it wasn't threaded backwards. So for that side, it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. The only way that I usually remember is drive side, normal, non-drive side, not normal. All right, so I've got the pedals and the saddle are both removed. Normally I would also remove the chain guard, but I think it'll be kind of nice to have a clunker in my collection that I can wear pants and ride. I got a couple back there you can see. I've taken the chain guard off of all of those bikes. And, you know, get tired of rolling your pant leg up. Went and got me some Odyssey 1/2-inch pedals for these cranks. Much more substantial, much grippier. Right, one more trick to show you guys before I get this thing dialed in for the Mount Bigelow Klunker Race. When you are tightening your pedals, you can do this with your pedal wrench, or you can do this.